So I think we're recording now.
Okay.
Right. So just to recap what this is all about, and this I think this is the 5th video I've done in this series now, and it's sharing people's stories of overcoming health conditions,
Okay.
just so that people who are suffering can see that it may not always have to be that way. So Elaine, we met. It must have been about 2012, I think.
Yeah, probably was. Yeah.
Yeah. But rather than like me tell everyone about you, do you want to just share kind of what you do at the moment, and we'll take it from there?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I work with the principles. I work with the 3 principles of mind, consciousness, and thought, or whatever anyone wants to call them at the moment. But I came across the principles. I was introduced to the principles in 2009, and before that, I had studied NLP. I'd done 3 trainer trainings in NLP and TFT and CBT, and anything with an acronym, and I was there. And there were things I liked, but a lot of things that didn't make sense to me. A lot of the techniques didn't make sense to me. It felt a little bit like Emperor's New Clothes. And then when I was introduced to the principles, it just all made sense. It made sense in a very practical and spiritual way. And it also didn't make sense to carry on working with the way I'd been working before. So since 2009, I've been working in this way. And loving it. So I work with a whole range of people. I work with a lot of weight loss clients, and I've got a book on Kindle since 2013 about weight loss from the principles perspective, and I've got a couple of courses on Udemy about weight loss from a principles perspective. And I also work with addiction, and I've just published a Udemy course on addiction as well. But then there's all the anxiety, depression, all the things that people come to me for. I actually, sounds really bizarre, but if somebody says, I've got really bad anxiety, can I come see you? I'm like, yes, because I know that that's something that they will be able to see quite quickly, that they will be able to see how to get rid of that quite quickly, which is lovely for them.
And of course, especially when it comes to like health issues and conditions that people have, like the stress and anxiety and worry around that, as well. If you remove that can make a huge difference just in and of itself, can't it?
Absolutely, because we know that stress kills, but actually stress doesn't exist. You can't say I've got a really stressful day, so I'm going to put half of it in my bag until later. It isn't there. It's not tangible. But the hormones and the chemicals that stress produces in the body, we need adrenaline, we need cortisol, we need insulin independently. Put them together, and it's a fairly potent mix. And it's that kind of thing that causes damage to the body, that can cause illness and death. But isn't it amazing that we create that from the mind? And I think that's absolutely fascinating. How clever are we that we can do that? It's just that we normally do it against ourselves instead of helping ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. When you get an inkling of like how it works, it's so much like it's much easier to align yourself with that, isn't it?
It's so easy. Yeah, I remember Kathy Casey always used to tell us, fall back into the principles. And I think that's a lovely analogy, because to me that's like a safety net. So whatever's going on, if you kind of go, oh yeah, okay, I know where this is coming from, it's like, oh, just falling back into that safety net, knowing that you're always protected. You can't free fall.
So thank you for that. And I think we'll talk about more of that probably if we get a chance. But
yeah,
you I think that the reason why we got talking and why you agreed to do an interview because like years ago you actually suffered from breast cancer, didn't you? And I, I think in your own words, like I wondered if you'd share a bit about that and how you dealt with that
Yeah, absolutely.
at the time.
Yeah, I have to be. I've always been very blasé about it, and I've realised that actually that can be quite insulting to some people. So I kind of try and moderate it a bit now, because I used to say, you know, it was well, it was really boring. It really was boring to have it. But of course, for some people, they don't see it like that. They don't see it as boring. I remember, you know, for weeks, 6 weeks of, you know, radiotherapy, and this boring. And I remember one of the nurses said to me, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Well, it's a good excuse for a lie down." And she said, "I don't think everybody sees it like that, you know." And I think for me, using my experience, you know, observing my experience, really does show me how it is not the experience that's causing the feelings. It's not the experience or the circumstance. It really is the way we think about it. Because my experience of breast cancer really wasn't traumatic at all. I was selling a fairly large 3-bedroom house, and going to a smaller property. And I sold the house a week after my second operation. So it was all a bit frantic, because I had to obviously, you know, pack the house up and move. and that was just far more important. You know, the treatment and everything else just was in the way, to be fair. But and as I say, if I could speak to it, I could talk to someone else who's gone through the same thing but has a completely different feeling about it. So it can't be the thing that's giving us the feeling, you know. And I do work with people that have been diagnosed as well, occasionally, because I'm a big believer in not getting caught up in the what ifs with it. Because you see, if on Wednesday Joe blogs, and on Thursday he's diagnosed with cancer, then on Friday he becomes a cancer victim. Well, he isn't any different to who he was on Wednesday, but he feels differently, because now he has this label on him that he's a cancer victim, and then suddenly he feels everything that goes with the label. So it's very common for people to think every ache or pain, or is the cancer spreading, or, you know, to go into fear and worry. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, this is the first interview I've done, like where we've broached the subject of cancer, and that's mainly because, like, I'm uncomfortable talking about it. I remember when I was in my teens, and my mum came back, and she was upset because she'd just found out that my grandma had cancer. And at the time I was like, well, yeah, okay, but why are you so upset about it? Because, like, surely she'll just go to hospital and get treated. And I remember, like, she's like, oh, no, but this is cancer. And and she had all this story around it. And I feel that I feel I just don't have, because I know quite a few people, probably going into double figures, who have overcome cancer, and so to me it's not this big thing, but I still have a lot of thinking talking about it, because I think other people
yeah, a lot of people do.
Yeah.
When I was going in for my second operation, I used to work in a university part-time. I used to work part-time in the university and part-time seeing clients. And I was trying to get exam board results back to collate before I went off. And I remember somebody saying to me, "Oh, so where are you going on holiday?" And I said, "I'm not going on holiday." He said, "Well, what's the rush for the..." I said, "I've got cancer. I'm going into hospital for an operation." And I was actually asked if I could break the news more gently of my cancer to other people, because they couldn't cope. which was quite funny. But I think actually because it just felt so, it just was something to, get through time-wise, really. I think normalising it helped everybody around me to normalise it too, because it just never became a big thing for anybody, for my daughters or anyone else. I used to try and get away with things. I'd say, oh, I can't go and put the kettle on, I've got cancer. They'd say, just get up and do it, So it kind of became almost a joke, really. But you see, the thing is, when somebody often, I say often, I can't generalise, but when people are diagnosed with something like cancer, they get very frightened. And I say to them, okay, what is it that's frightening you? Are you frightened of the operation? And most of the time it's no. They totally trust that, they'll go in and things will be done as they're meant to be. So that's not frightening them. And then when I ask them what it is that's frightening them, there isn't a thing. What it is the prognosis. They're frightened of the what ifs. They're frightened of what might happen down the road. That's often seems to be what people are frightened of. They're just scaring themselves for no reason, because we don't know what's going to happen.
It's like when you don't feel right in your body and you go for some tests and like the doctor's got to send them off or something, and I guess it's the equivalent of somebody Googling their symptoms and then like worrying that like this could happen and that could happen and what if it's this and what if I've got that.
Oh, absolutely. And the only times I ever felt any kind of real trepidation was weirdly enough when I would go and normally getting the results of the operation. And as I had to have two because they didn't get it all the first time, but that wasn't a bother either, because I knew they would the second time probably. But sitting there waiting for the doctor to come back, or when you go for your monthly or whatever it is mammogram on all these things, because back then I was still doing whether I would do mammograms now I don't know. I might go down a slightly more holistic route, but that's the way it was. But that when you're waiting, that's when it goes through your mind. And then I had to keep thinking, hold on, if it was in me, or it was going to be, it wouldn't have just come in me the day they were taking the mammogram or the biopsy or whatever. You have to kind of remind yourself that it wasn't going to happen overnight as you were going in, so you don't have to think about it. But it's a strange. It really is. I think in any time of whatever somebody is diagnosed with, I think that is a time to really encourage yourself to come back to the moment. What is happening right now? What do I have to think about right now? Because otherwise, so we get caught up in what we imagine might happen in the future. And we know that the way we feel. Obviously, we know the way we feel. It comes from our thinking, but also our body responds to the way we think. And that's been proven with the way our cells react to the way we think, because the cells, the blood culture medium, the blood goes to the cells and is affected by the chemicals in the brain and the thinking that goes on that causes the chemicals that affects the blood that goes to the cells, and the cells are affected scientifically by the way we think. So if you want to heal, the last thing you want to be thinking about is more illness. You want to be thinking about healing. And I don't mean you have to sit and visualize it, but you just have to catch your thinking when you go down a route that you'd rather not be going down. Interestingly, I think it was in Bristol, they had quite a few years ago, they realized that your thinking affected your body, and they had groups when people got cancer. They had groups that in recovery from you would go into one of these groups and you would sit round, because they believed that there was probably some kind of trauma that set off the cells starting to go a little bit awry. So they would encourage you to think about your trauma to get rid of it, so it wouldn't happen again. So they're saying that something that happened to you that you were in trauma about, so you were thinking about, affected your cells and caused your cells to divide.
Think about it more.
So what do you do the second time when you think about it to get rid of it? Do you kind of whisper to your body like, okay, cells, it's not happening now. Don't think about it now. I'm just I mean, how ridiculous is that? Yeah. So I know, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. So I do think I think I was very lucky in the way I was thinking about it then. And then of course coming across the principles the year after, again it made total sense to me.
It's kind of so there's two things. Most of these interviews, people have been sharing kind of like what their conditions were, and kind of what they did to address that, and how they got better, or how things are now. But I'm getting the sense that you didn't deliberately think like that because you knew it would make you better.
I didn't, and really still now, if someone said to me, actually they got it all wrong, I mean, I know they didn't, especially because I had 2 operations, but if they said to me, you know, we got it wrong, you didn't have it, I'd believe them, because I don't feel like I had it. I just don't, you know, I just don't. And I think, you know, I just didn't worry about it at all. I did do certain things, you know, we've talked about health, and I've been juicing since, well, I've probably been juicing for about 30 years. But I was juicing kind of basic juices, really, right? I didn't have green juices. I was just doing what I had then. But I did ramp up the juicing when I was diagnosed. So I started, and I still do now, having green juices every day, almost every day anyway. And I normally have 3 juices. I have a beetroot and a green juice and an orange juice, orange and carrot and ginger and that kind of thing. So I did ramp that up. And I've always been interested in raw food. I bought my first raw food book when Leslie Kenton brought hers out in mid-80s, I think. And I was really interested in it then. But back then, of course, you didn't have the internet, and nobody had heard of an alfalfa sprout, so it was a bit limited.
There's still not many places have now.
So I didn't pursue that very very well, you know. But I've always had an interest in it, and I did get more interested in raw food, and I go through phases of having raw food. You know, I love having raw food, but then I love having cooked food too. So I'm not kind of one or the other. So I definitely did. Probably I had to get a little bit more interested in the nutrition and food as well, which was, you know, never going to do me any harm, because I do believe it's a 2-pronged thing. I absolutely do believe it's a 2-pronged thing. I think that if you're giving your body what it needs, I think you feel better anyway, and it's easy. I think it's always nicer. It's always easier, I think, to not dwell on the negatives if you're feeling well. Yeah. So I'm not saying your state of mind depends on your physical health at all, because I absolutely believe it doesn't matter what kind of physical health you're in, you can still have a quiet mind. You can still, I absolutely believe that. So I don't think that you have to be healthy to have a quiet mind or to have clarity. But I certainly don't think it hurts to put good food into you either.
Not at all. But so I was running a workshop once, and one of the we were sharing the principles, and it wasn't to do like it wasn't health or diet related as far as I can remember. So we didn't know like people's backgrounds or anything like that. And we were sharing how kind of it wasn't anything out there that made us feel how we felt. It was all an internal thing, and this lady piped up. She just said, I know exactly what you mean, and she'd been like when she was diagnosed with cancer, and we'd not known that at the start, she said she went through 2 weeks of like absolute hell. Just kind of went to pieces. Like she was normally kind of like this strong independent woman that like really productive, got things done, and she said she just couldn't function at all. And then like something in it, like she just realized that actually she'd probably had the cancer like for a lot longer than 2 weeks. So she hadn't changed. It was just the fact that she like before she'd not known, afterwards she knew, and suddenly
nothing was different.
No, suddenly she started thinking differently.
That's exactly it.
And she said she just snapped out of it like that and got on with it and dealt with it as another thing to deal with. And like she overcame it. But I suppose my question, if I've got a question, is like people can't just see that. How like that's not something you did, and it's not something she did, like to snap out with it. So for someone that is struggling like with cancer now, or has just been diagnosed, that is caught up in all that worry and stress and what if, what would you say to that kind of thing?
Well, I was already working, as I say, as a coach when I was diagnosed. So I did feel it was a bit like, oh, okay, it's time to walk your talk. You can't really. So, but I think just the one thing really is just keep bringing it back to now. I think that's the one thing I would tell anyone in that situation, because they are not worrying about this second. Because at this second, they're probably feeling fine, or they're feeling whatever they're feeling. But whatever it is, that's what they're feeling now. They don't need to think about next week, next month, next year, they just don't have to.
Or the operation, or the treatment.
Or the operation, or take, it's quite funny because I had the lymph nodes, lots of lymph nodes, you have to have lymph nodes removed from under your arm. And for about the last, maybe, I don't know, year, maybe more even, my arm, I've had problems with my arm. So doing that, well, I couldn't do that. It's a bit like the old Tommy Cooper joke, doctor, I can't move my arm up to there. Well, stop doing it. But I couldn't reach behind. I couldn't, and it was getting worse and worse. And I found I was often holding my arm because it was constant pain. I mean, not, now's done a chalkboard pain, but it was constant pain. It was getting worse. And Tony, my partner, kept saying, well, you should go to the doctor. And I said, I don't see why. It's probably just from the lymph nodes, even though it was a long time ago. And I just thought, well, just kind of get on with it. And then I thought, I'd just look it up, Dr. Google. I just look it up. And I Googled it. And I would have said the pain was between my shoulder and my elbow. And I wasn't actually thinking of my shoulder. Anyway, I looked at it, and it all made sense. It was something called, I think, rotary cuff or something. And it said, do you click? And I thought, yeah, I do often click my shoulder. Anyway, it was the way I was sleeping. And I said to Tony, he said to me, I've been telling you for ages, you're sleeping awkwardly. You're putting a lot of pressure on your shoulder. Oh, I've changed the way I sleep, and it's gone. Every now and again, I know it. I think, I must have slept like that again. I was like, now I could have spent that year worrying that it was cancer, that it had come back already. And that's what a lot of people do, you see, because then they associate every pain they have. Now, what a waste of a year if I'd worried about that. I mean, it was a waste. I couldn't move my arm properly, but hey ho. But I didn't have any thinking about it. I just thought, oh well, okay, it's just a byproduct of that. But that's what people do. They waste their now worrying about what might happen in the future. I mean, people do that anyway, but I think it's exacerbated if you've had a diagnosis of something.
what does this mean? What could it mean? What might it
Oh,
mean?
does this, yeah, is it spreading? Is it, yeah.
What happens then? Yeah.
Yes. When it could be something as simple as not sleeping in the right position. Yeah. So, I don't think, I would never say to anyone that they've brought an illness on themselves. Who knows? I might have done, I might not have done, I don't know. But I would never say, I would never suggest that to someone. But I do believe that when you have an illness, you can really help yourself to repair, to get healthy. I think we have so much more power over our body than we think we have. Like when we're talking about stress, the fact that we can cause stress is amazing. It's amazing, isn't it? That we can do that.
But the way I always think about it is like, look, if you've got a fear of spiders and you think there's a spider there, like you can set your heart racing, like you can even sweat and
absolutely.
And there might not even be a spider there. It might just be a shadow.
Absolutely. And how about people that have all those symptoms when they see a picture of a spider in a magazine?
Yeah.
They even know the spider's not there, but they're still reacting. It's funny, isn't it? So I think that we accept that these things happen, that we can cause a fear, we have these, but we don't think about channeling that in a different direction. We don't think about helping our body to work properly by the way we're thinking. Yeah?
I love that. I just love that, and I love that you've. I'm going to leave it there. And I feel like we're kind of cutting the conversation short as well, because I feel that opens up a whole new direction. So if people want,
as I say, I have got. Unless you've got to rush, I can do it a little bit longer if you want.
Yeah, let's talk about how kind of to work with the mind and the body a little bit, and what that might look like. Because I don't think you're saying try and think differently.
Oh no, not at all. No, not at all. You see, I really like, and I've talked about this a lot, so if anyone's heard me before, they'll hear me whittering on about it. But I really like the idea. Dr. Bruce Lipton, the biologist, the cellular biologist, he talks about, I think I might have mentioned this before, how he took one pluripotential stem cell, and this is a stem cell that can become anything, but one pluripotential stem cell, and he cultivated it with cell culture medium until it divided. And then he put the cells in 3 different Petri dishes. And depending on the environment the cells were exposed to, depended on whether they became a bone cell, a muscle cell, or a fat cell. Now, how can that be? They were genetically identical. And the environment isn't where you live or what you do. It's the environment is the way you think, because the cell culture medium is the blood and, say, chemicals from the brain. It's the way you think. And he says you can take a diseased cell and change the environment and it becomes healthy. Now, that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he says the body is like a skin-covered Petri dish. So I say I'm not saying, I would hate for anybody who was suffering with something or was going through something to feel like they weren't right, they weren't doing something properly because they weren't healing themselves. I don't mean that at all. I just think you've got to, you give your body the best chance it's got.
Yeah.
That's all. Give it the best chance. We know stuff happens. Sadly, people get things, they die. It happens. And I'm not saying it's their responsibility in any way at all. But I'm just saying, the more that you think that you will have some control over the way your body works, the other thing is it also puts you back into a feeling of it gives you empowerment. And when somebody is diagnosed with something like cancer, they become part of a production. So you're in the system. If you go down the traditional route, you're in the system, you get your appointments, you go to see the surgeon, you go to the you have an operation, you have radiotherapy, and if you have to have chemotherapy, you're on the production line, and it feels very disempowering for some people. Whereas when you start to think you're going to influence your body to heal, even in the tiny, tiny little bit, it starts to put you back in control. It starts to give you some feeling that you have something to do with your body, rather than just handing it over to somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's very important too. That's very important too.
Just understanding kind of that there are things that can be done as well. Because I think I was very much brought up thinking that there were some things that you got that were just kind of because your body didn't work properly, or because it was in your genes, and because like that's the way it was. And to kind of be well, it's like you said, to be kind of faced with that is really disempowering, and doesn't provide much hope or the possibility of something different. So to know that there are like tiny little things you can do to influence that, however small, however insignificant they may seem, in or significant, like who knows, and who's to say, but it's a big thing to go from having nothing to there being something, and even if it's just to provide a distraction.
Yes, exactly.
Because I know when I was told that, and I don't want to in any way compare. When I was initially told that I had gallstones, and that the only cure was to have my gallbladder removed, like. And at the time, I was just such a wuss, and I hated the thought of like a needle, let alone like an operation to have something taken out. And I just know, and that's when I started looking at changing my diet and eating healthily.
Yes.
And I know that I was like, well, I don't know if this is going to work or make any difference whatsoever, but like, what harm can it do?
And it's got to help. You know, I mean, if you have a plant, you don't water it with Coca-Cola and expect it to thrive.
No.
Your body needs certain things to work. You know, you need enzymes, you need, good bacteria. You need certain things in your body for it to work properly. So why wouldn't you give those things to your body? You know, why would you? So people look after their car more than they look after their body. You know, it's ridiculous. And also, people will do things with their body on the outside without thinking about what to do on the inside, which is kind of crazy too, isn't it? And I think the more that's all still part of the feeling of control. So I think, you see, you don't have to be any more stressed or worried when you're diagnosed with something than you were before, during, or after. It is entirely down to the way you're thinking about your diagnosis, and again, normally about your prognosis. That's when people stress. But so if you can kind of recognize the connection between thought and feeling, when you see that your feeling is only coming from your thinking and not from your diagnosis, not even from whatever it is in your body, then you can help yourself to see when you're going into that kind of thinking, and choose whether to go down that road or not. But equally, if you start doing things to, as I say, to give your body the best chance, I think of your immune system like remember the little Pac-Men that used to get, I think younger people might recognise them because they're a bit retro now, the little Pac-Men, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, I think the immune system, it sends out those little foot soldiers, those little Pac-Men to gobble up disease. So the best chance you can give your immune system, the better soldiers you're going to have,
Yeah.
So why not build your immune system up to the best it can be? And that is, I firmly, as you know, firmly believe in the power of juicing and eating raw food. That can even be, just putting a few more things in your salad, making your salad more interesting. And I really encourage people to make sauerkraut. Put that in your salad, build up the good bacteria.
Yeah.
I mean, you know that 85% of your gut contains about 85% of your immune system, and often the ratio, got what is it, like 100 trillion bacteria.
Did they say we're only 10% human or something?
Yeah.
The rest is like bacteria and
I know, exactly. Well,
germs.
85%, is normally, it should be 85% to good bacteria to 15% bad bacteria. But most people are walking around with, as you say, like, filled with bad bacteria. And so the more that you can help your gut to be healthy. And that's so easy. It can be so easy. It can be just like a small helping of sauerkraut. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It doesn't have to be hundreds of pounds spent on supplements or
cultivating kefir.
Exactly. These things they're not, cutting out sugar as much as you can. We know cancer loves sugar. You know that. So I'm not saying that I'm perfect and never have any sugar, because I do. And, I drink wine and that's got sugar in it. But I choose my sugars. I don't go too crazy with commercial sugar. I have it sometimes, but I would prefer to have a chocolate drink made with raw cacao powder and dates and nuts and bananas, that kind of thing. I prefer that. I actually prefer that. So by trying to cut down your sugars, avoid artificial sweeteners, all of these things that are such common sense, really. Back to basics. Eat real food. I'm always saying to people, there is no junk food. There is food and there is junk. It's not the same thing. And all of these things have to help your body. And as saying, it's back to you feeling that you have some power over yourself when you're choosing the foods that's going in. And you're actively choosing rather than just having it because it's there.
Thank you. I feel like there's so many takeaways there, and if and you have got courses out there as well, and a book. So if people want to get in touch with like questions or want to know more or just want to see like what work you do and explore that more, what's the best way to get in touch, or where should they go?
The best place is my website, which is Elaine Hilides. So I'll spell that for you. It's a bit of a strange one, isn't it? So obviously Elaine, and then it's Hilides, ElaineHilides.com.
Brilliant. Thank you. And I'll put that out with the video as well.
Fantastic.
That's
it's lovely chatting to you.
Yeah, it's always lovely chatting to you. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
And I think that will be really helpful for people.
Okay. Bye-bye.